is a stick, and if I told you that I had to screw something in or out with this stick, that probably would not be all that difficult. But if I told you that I also have to press this stick with my leg, while I was doing that, the stick obviously will break. And why I'm telling you this is because, come here, the biggest change on the new 2024 Jeep Wrangler is that now it comes with a rear axle where this stick is essentially covered with a steel pipe. So now it gets a fully floating rear axle where the axle turns the wheels and it's covered with a casing, and there are two bearings which bear the load of the vehicle. So the axle itself, which is rotating the wheel, does not have to bear the weight of the vehicle. The weight of the vehicle is borne by the casing, and with the only task of rotating the wheel, the axle can do its job a lot better. It's a much stronger unit. While the earlier unit was a semi-floating type, which somewhat bears the load of the vehicle also, but now it's a really advanced system, very strong. And the advantage of this is that it can lug great amounts of load. The towing capacity of this car now has gone up to 5,000 pounds, which is a little less than 2,500 kgs. So it can really lug a lot of weight in its trolley. Also, for people who really want to upsize the wheel of this car, you can only imagine if the weight of the car is not borne by the axle, the wheels can really go big, because the stress has been taken away to a large part by the rotating axle. So now the wheels can be much bigger, they can be upsized, the tires can be bigger, and if you really are into serious off-roading, this big change really would enable you, and that really adds to the capability of this car enormously. Apart from that, there are many other changes. I'm going to talk about them, but right now, since we are standing in front of this car, I'll use this stick to let you know what that is. The grille is new. Apparently it allows for better airflow, and this glass here, I can hit it with impunity because now this is Corning Gorilla Glass, the same glass that's used in some premium smartphones and protects it from shattering its screen when you drop it. If you come close, you'll also be able to see a new figure apart from the Jeep figure that is there on the windscreen so many times. There's a gorilla here. There is this new front camera as well, and while off-roading it really helps, but I really wonder why there is no 360-degree camera on this car yet, and not even a transparent body like the BYD or even a Mercedes. It doesn't even have a transparent bonnet. Would have really helped. But what I really love is the new screen here, which is 12.5 inches, and all this area that you see here can be hosed down. You can wash it with water, electronics included, and nothing will fail. It gets this electric adjustable seat on both the sides, and this can also be hosed down. What that means is, with the 864 mm water wading capability, the water can come all the way until this point, and the electric seats will still work. I'll tell you about more wonders of this car, so stay tuned. Now, I would also want to talk about the water fording capability of this car, and it can ford through water which is 864 mm deep. Now, this here is the river Sutlej, and as you can see, it's not very shallow. You can actually see the bottom of the water because it's very clear, but we are going to be crossing this river from that area there. You can see those bamboos. So this car will be crossing this river from that point, and from what we have been told, the water is going to come all the way till the seat. Let's see how it goes. We have managed to cross what possibly was one of the most extreme off-road circuits that has been created for a media drive until now in India. And the good part was that it was created over a very natural terrain in an 1800-acre forest. And the way this thing tackled all of those challenges was amazing. And while I have driven cars which probably could have done the same things, It was how this car managed to tackle those challenges with utmost ease and the kind of confidence that it gave me. While going through some really steep inclines and declines, I felt that the car was completely at home and it did not come across as intimidating. In fact, there is a very steep slope where I turned the hill descent control off on purpose and used only the brakes to go down, and it was almost like I did not need the hill descent control. It just took that challenging terrain in its stride with such ease that I was completely amazed. Now let's have a quick look at some of the other hardware that you would be interested in. This car comes with front as well as rear diff locks, and it gets a solid axle. It does not have an independent front suspension, so that when you're doing extreme off-roading, the chances of the delicate componentry of an independent front suspension, since it has more arms and links, that is eliminated and you can use it in a rugged manner. Apart from that, this gets powered by a 270 HP 400 Newton meter engine. It's a petrol engine, and the ground clearance is more than sufficient. This here is the river Satluj, and we have managed to ford our way through it. And while you might think that the water is not very deep, it has receded a little bit today. It was higher up by a foot yesterday and the water was all the way up till here, and this car managed to ford its way without any problem. Now, another interesting thing that I forgot to tell you about is that this glass also has inbuilt antennas, so that the chances of the separate antenna getting broken down while you're off-roading are completely eliminated. Now let's get inside and see how you control the various different functions. This is not an all-new product. We have done a review of this car earlier also, but I'll quickly walk you through all the features that you have inside once more. Now remember that this car is available in two variants, and this one here is the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon variant, and then there is the more mainstream unlimited variant, which is the lower variant in terms of the off-roading capability. It comes with a complete hard top, and as you can see there is a car park there. So the unlimited comes with a hard top. This one can also be had with the hard top, but we have the pipe gates here, and this is essentially for the hardcore off-roaders. Now, as I've already mentioned, these electrical buttons here, the electrical controls, are completely waterproof. Getting inside can be a bit of a task if you are not too tall or if you are not at a suitable age. Now, one very interesting fact about this car is that while there are no windows or any doors, this car still comes equipped with 6 airbags. You heard it right. And in case of a crash, an airbag is going to deploy right here. So safety is not compromised even if you're driving this specific version of this car. Another interesting fact is that these mirrors are not electrically or joystick wise controlled. You have to change the direction with your fingers like so. Now all of this is very rough and rugged, but what you see here is very high quality Napa leather. So in terms of luxury, Jeep is offering you what they can in this sort of an off-road extreme machine. This screen here as well is a 12.5-inch unit, and as I mentioned earlier as well, this can be completely hosed down. All of this that you see here is waterproof. If you spray it with water, nothing is going to happen. The steering as well as the seats are heated. Now you might wonder, why are they heated when the weather in India is already so hot? Well, the answer is, if you're coming to such places where your seat has a very high chance of getting wet, you can turn the heating on and then your clothes will dry and you'll not feel uncomfortable. Now let's have a look at the dashboard as well, but before that, let me tell you that this car comes with 7 array microphones, and with active noise cancelling. When the car is moving, you don't have any noise coming inside. It's pin drop silence in here. The audio system here also, the standard unit is a very nice sounding Alpine 8 speaker unit, which really sounds very nice. You also have off-road pages where you get all the information about the car, whether the sway bar is connected or disconnected, whether the front locker is locked, whether the rear locker is locked, and whether the transfer case is locked, the steering angle, all of the accessory gauges, all the temperature, pitch and roll units. And you also now get this off-road camera, which is quite useful if you're driving alone, and you can really place the car very nicely on the road. And if you know what's ahead, this guides you as to where you can place the car and avoid the obstacle. You can also clean the camera like so if it gets dirty, so you don't have to get off if it gets mucky. Now coming down to the business end of things, you have this button here to lock the rear and the front plus rear. So you don't have the option of locking just the front axle. You either lock the front and rear differential or just the rear. You also have this off-road plus mode, which allows you to drive at higher speeds with the rear locker engaged. It disables the traction control, it adjusts throttle for off-road driving, and it adjusts auto transmission shift points for off-roading use as well. Then you have this sway bar electronic disconnect function, and what it does is, in areas where you require the wheels to hang off further for finding traction and finding contact and grip, it disengages the sway bars, which keep the car balanced when you're using it on the road so that it does not roll much. And when it's disengaged, the wheels can hang off a lot more so that they go down further and find traction. So you can disengage the sway bar as well. However, you should be mindful of turning this feature off as soon as you get back on the road, and you should never be using this feature at speeds above 29 kilometers per hour. Then you also have these window buttons, which are quite useless here. And for the smokers amongst you, there is a cigarette lighter. It's of no use for me, but I can probably make use of this to charge my equipment. Talking of charging, you have one type C and one type A and an aux in here, and I don't want to be talking much about this. However, this is a different story, and in the automatic version you have P, R and D, and then you also have this gear right here, and it takes some effort to engage. It's not super slick, but I think that's how it should be, so that you know that it's engaged. So by default, if you're driving on the 2 high, and if you want to be in 4 high, put it in 4 high auto, then you can put it in 4 high part time, where it senses whether you really require 4-wheel drive or not, and then you can go to neutral and the 4 low mode, where you have 2 crawl ratios. So for the unlimited version you have 2.72:1, and for the Rubicon variant you have 4:1 ratio. And while this one comes with Rock Track 4-wheel drive system, the unlimited version comes with Select Track 4-wheel drive system, which is not as exhaustive as this one. And if you want the full capability, you have to go with the Rubicon variant, because that's where you get the differential locks and all the big fancy features for hardcore off-roading. The Wrangler Unlimited is also a very capable off-roader, but if you really want to go hardcore off-roading, the Rubicon is the version to go for. Now, while I did drive this car on the road and on some rough surfaces as well, because of the limited time, we did not get a piece to camera kind of a setup where my videographer can show me driving the car. However, what I can tell you is that this having a solid axle, this is not as refined or as comfortable as even the other cars from the Jeep stable, like say the Jeep Meridian or the Jeep Compass. You can feel a few more bumps coming in, but for the kind of off-road setup that you have around the wheels, I think it does a pretty good job, and it feels reasonably comfortable. It's not uncomfortable at all, but it cannot be compared with other luxury vehicles. What really is amazing though is that the turning radius is really short, and maneuverability of this car, despite its big size, is absolutely amazing. Feels like it's made of diamond, absolutely indestructible. Feels like you can really conquer any terrain with this machine. And as I mentioned, what really struck me was the fact that on obstacles which looked absolutely unwinnable, it won them, and it made me feel like it was a piece of cake. So that really is the most amazing thing about this specific car. Let's have a quick look at the back seat as well. So you really have to climb inside, and you have these dedicated AC vents. You have 4 USB sockets and a proper 3-pin socket as well. The space here is decent. I won't say it's very comfortable. The seat squab is very small. You don't have proper under thigh support, but you do get this really nice armrest with 2 cup holders, and all of that has been very beautifully integrated in the headrest of the third passenger. All in all, I think it's a place where you can sit for short journeys. It's not a very luxurious place, but it's not bad at all. The width is pretty good. You actually can seat 3 people here, and this is the kind of car that I really want to put my friends, like really close friends and my enemies, in and take them to a place where they are very uncomfortable. Now the seat is also 60-40 split, and you can put these seats down or just the headrest by using these buttons here. So this is for the entire seat, and this little button here is for the headrest, and you have this loading area as well where you can put your stuff in. You can see that big subwoofer peeping through there. You also have this 12-volt power socket right here, along with these hooks to put in some bungee cords and stop your stuff from rolling around. And if you open the rear gate, you'll see that there is some more space underneath the floorboard as well. This is where your jack sits. Another interesting thing to note is that the rear camera sits right here. The prices of the car are here on your screen, and how do I conclude this? Well, There is absolutely nothing like this vehicle on the road or off it. And if you're someone who wants to really explore the world and wants to live a free life and doesn't want to think before getting off the road, then this is the car for you. There is absolutely nothing that comes close to it, and I absolutely have my heart on it. I wish I could afford it and buy it and keep it and maintain it. Right now I cannot, but someday, God willing. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.